Hi, my name is Jacob Reyes. I'm currently taking a course in Rhetoric and Composition 1. For first year college students, you may know what that is, but for new high school students, it may be a subject foreign to you. Rhetoric and composition is a section in writing that mainly focuses on how languages and other forms of communication, like visual, oral, or written styles, persuade, inform, and influence the audience. During my year with this course, I've dealt with problems of procrastination and blindly completing assignments for reading. But as I reflect on my writing for this reflection, I want to ask myself, where are my strengths and weaknesses, and how can I improve on them? To answer this, I reflected on the challenges I came across, mainly in my peer review assignments like my in-class feedback goal setting and peer review, but I saw my strengths in the research proposal and research journals I completed. To recognize how this reflects my certain strengths and weaknesses, we'll look at how these assignments engage with the 6 SLOs. SLOs, also known as student learning outcomes, consist of skills like critical thinking, teamwork, personal responsibility, including visual, oral, and written communication. This is important to my reflection because it can help me recognize my weaknesses and strengths, whether it is in teamwork or critical thinking. As I look at the first SLO, critical thinking, I am reminded of my 3 research journals, number 1 through number 3. During my research journals, I was required to search for sources that would support and expand my research proposal, then cite, summarize, analyze, and annotate the sources. This process of analyzing the credibility of the sources was how I demonstrated my ability to arrive at a well-reasoned opinion about my research. Next are the communication SLOs, starting with oral communication. I engaged with this SLO through my peer review sessions. During the peer review sessions, I had to clearly and thoughtfully state my feedback towards my peers and receive their feedback constructively. The engagement taught me how to create complex suggestions for revision clearly and effectively. For the written communication SLO, I focused on how to establish my feedback on documents. The in-class feedback-based revision best helped me engage with this because I was required to suggest changes, the reasons for the changes, and help them revise the text. Practicing this skill helped me understand how to successfully adapt my writing for a specific audience and context based on these suggestions that my peers to make my text more clear and for my reader and not just for me. In visual communication skills, I demonstrated this by selecting visual data like charts and graphs for my research proposals. I had to analyze them effectively and clearly so I could reinforce the author's argument, therefore establishing credibility and support for my proposal. This expanded my understanding of how research isn't just about convincing and analytical words, but about not non-text evidence as well. The 5th SLO, teamwork, was essential during my in-class feedback goal setting and peer review assignment because it required me to collaborate effectively with a peer to ensure both of our documents were completed to our best effort, demonstrating respect for the feedback and differing opinions. During this assignment, taking the feedback and revising was optional because this feedback wasn't just about criticizing, it was about compromise and conversation, something that is mostly forgotten during teamwork. I learned that this wasn't just about doing our parts, but communicating thoughtfully between each other for a well-concluded revision. Finally, personal responsibility was showcased across all my research assignments. I practiced this by demonstrating an awareness of citation in all my research assignments, ensuring that I properly document sources and credit them. This is important for upholding my academic integrity as a core part of my process before I even begin to thoughtfully communicate with the subject. Throughout the year, I used many writing behaviors like the writing and reading process, revision and feedback, rhetorical awareness, and inquiry and information literacy. These habits helped me work on assignments, so how could I use these skills to grow in my weaknesses and fortify my strengths? When I look at my writing and reading processes, I learned to assess the credibility of a source by researching deeper into the context, by looking at information that isn't just on the surface, like background information about the authors. This strategy taught me that great reading starts with critical thinking of the source's value. Once I finished my writing and reading process, it was a behavior to work with my team for revision and feedback. In this habit, I focused on making critical revision decisions with my peers. I didn't just accept all feedback. I assessed the notes I received from my peers and about my own writing goals to make thoughtful changes and not just nonsensical or empty ones. While I revised, I made sure that during my drafting process, I was aware of my rhetoric language. I practiced this by aligning my text with the audience and the goal. I was consistent in pinpointing how I plan to achieve my goals, informing the audience to maintain the alignment of my message and genre of the proposal. After reflecting on the SLOs and behaviors I used to get here, I learned a lot about where I struggled and strided. For critical thinking and analysis strategies, I often saw that without these, my responses and assumptions were often shallow, and when I used them, they pushed me to actively search for complex viewpoints instead of accepting the first answer. The same with teamwork and the behavior of making critical revision decisions. One thing I was disappointed about was my 0 on the in-class feedback-based revision assignment. The assignment required us to write our goals, then have our peers answer them. Although my peer took a while to finish their part, causing me to acquire a 0 and them acquire 100, I see that I may have ineffectively communicated with them on what my goals really were and my essay. So I plan to grow in the teamwork SLO more as I continue into the new semester for rhetoric and composition. However, this reflection has brought out two important questions to the surface that I must carry into the next semester and strengthen. Do I include too much information in my writing that adds nothing to my purpose but only my word count? And when collecting my sources, do I implement them enough into my writing, or are they just another name or phrase in my essay? To communicate effectively to my peers and readers, my goal is to move beyond the unnecessary information and ensure that every word serves a clear rhetorical purpose. Thank you for listening, and I hope this is something that can open up your mind about yourself as you continue with your year or writing journey. This course has laid a strong foundation for my academic writing journey. I am ready for the next semester, but my writing journey is never done.